Okay, we're living large tonight. We got microphones and everything. Okay, thank you. Well, welcome to Hawaiian Night at the Planning Board. Unless you have a Hawaiian garb, you're not going to be heard tonight, so you could just go home if you want. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, the September Planning Board meeting will be the second Thursday of September 14th due to religious holidays instead of the normal third Thursday. Okay, so September's meeting is the 14th. Okay, just as a reminder. Application number 1, public hearing, Crown Castle Verizon Communications Towers, site plan and special use permit public hearing regarding replacement of a telecommunication monopole at the Poughkeepsie Day School, 244 Boardman Road, zoned IN institutional, .266 acres, Poughkeepsie Day School owner.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Chairman, members of the Planning Board. My name is Lucia Chiocchio with Cuddy and Fader. My colleague, Anthony Mirando, who was here last month, sends his regrets. He had a meeting conflict this evening. I'm happy to be here on behalf of Crown Castle with respect to their project to replace an existing telecommunications tower at the Poughkeepsie Day School. The existing tower is 80 feet tall. It's a guide tower. The existing tower maintains a facility for AT&T Wireless. The proposal is to replace it with a self-supporting tower, monopole that's 105 feet in height. Self-supporting meaning that there won't be any guy wires for the tower. The new tower would be located approximately 23 feet from the existing tower. AT&T's antennas would be transferred to the new tower, and the new tower is proposed for Verizon Wireless to provide reliable wireless services in the area. AT&T's existing equipment will remain at the base of the existing monopole, will remain where it is. Verizon will install an equipment pad at the base of the new monopole. So the location, if you're not familiar with the site, is adjacent to the new solar arrays that are at the Poughkeepsie Day School. We're happy to answer any questions that the board may have. I'm going to turn it over to the design engineer, Steve Matthews from Tectonic. He's made a few minor changes to the drawings based on some engineering and staff comments that we received.
I have a digital copy on my laptop. Should I put it into the monitor? Have you? We were here last month.
I like it so the public can see it.
Okay. Is there a physical way other than this cord?
There's an outlet panel in that console. Let me just make sure that staff have that turned on, and it'll also be projected to here.
Right, the other one's good.
There you go. All right.
He came back from Hawaii and did.
Joe Dennis.
And he's dressed appropriately.
Joe, you need to come up here.
Told you like that.
You got your engineer.
Just as you speak, are the plans you're about to show us the ones that were submitted to the board that the board and staff have reviewed, or are these revisions that have been made since then that we're seeing for the first time tonight?
So last month we had comments relative to showing grading that has been incorporated in this plan set. I'm sorry, grounding that has been incorporated in here. We received a memo. I received it a few days ago about some comments about clarifying who the responsible parties are for each portion of the work. That is reflected in here. There was a new memo which I received today dated July 18th, which I had not seen. I got it on my way down here. So that work is not in this plan set.
The plan set that was reviewed and that the board has in its packets is revised dated June 21st.
June 21st. We just finished these plans literally 4 hours ago, so I don't know that you have this version. The June 21st sounds like the version that we revised with grounding design shortly after last meeting. It's been further updated since the comments that we received a few days ago.
But confirm that none of the design has changed.
Oh, correct, yeah, the design as a whole is the same. The platform for Verizon is the same location, the fence compound is the same size, the tower is the same size. No changes to the access road other than to make it 14 feet instead of 12 feet due to a recent comment. So Ed, to piggyback on what Lucia was saying, we have an existing gravel road which is being improved. We're widening it to 14 feet per the recent comment. There is currently no fence on the site. We're fencing in the entire 50 by 100 lease area. We're removing the existing tower, putting up the new tower, probably 20 feet away, 23 feet exactly. Locating the new Verizon wireless platform in the corner of the compound, and they'll be installing their antennas. Here's an elevation view of the tower, the monopole tower, 105 feet tall. Existing AT&T antennas will be moved over. Verizon will be installed at the top, and there's room for a future carrier in between the two when it's all said and done. We do have a site overview plan. I can zoom in on this. That shows the entire development with the solar project in relation to the tower compound. Tower compound is down here. This entire area here is being cleared and graded. I think it's currently already clear. I think all the tree removal has taken place. I believe some grading has occurred also. But this entire portion here is related to the solar project. And then we're kind of off here to the southeast.
Okay. Thank you. Eric? Sure.
Yeah, you have a variety of things in your packet from staff. Overall, the staff found that the application meets the standards for site plan and special use permit with a number of comments, and thus we're recommending that the board, if it agrees, could adopt a secret negative declaration, act on the special use permit for which we've provided in your packet a separate resolution by reference. You don't need to read it, but we provided a resolution that would reference it, and then conditional site plan approval. And then since the board typically does architectural review, we thought the board might be inclined to waive architectural review in this instance.
Right, okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Moved, seconded?
Second.
Okay, call a question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Public hearing is open. We have two people who have signed up to speak. Magdalena Epic? Yes, hi. Do we have a microphone for them? Yes.
I'm not sure if it's on. I'm Magdalena Epic, 15 Lynn Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. Good evening. Several years ago, a cellular tower was erected on the hill behind our house by Cellular One. Now it is planned to replace that tower with a behemoth tower. The tower is surrounded by 3 schools, a child daycare, a senior assisted living facility with a memory care unit, and residential homes. I have never seen a tower of that size near so many fragile, it's not working?
This is on, yeah.
I didn't think it was, yeah. Do I have to start over? Or did you hear me?
We heard you.
Okay.
That's better.
I have never seen a tower of that size near so many fragile facilities. Even nature found the old tower objectionable and grew its trees tall enough to cover it. The proposed tower will be 15 feet higher and an eyesore forever with unforeseen problems. I know we in Poughkeepsie are trying to be very aware of the environment, cleaning up the Hudson, using liquefied salt on our roads, not adding fluoride to our town water, planning developments, walkways, greenways, planting trees, flowers, and installing solar panels. I find it very troubling if approval is given to erect a monopole of this size holding 3 service providers in this location. That would be a perfect oxymoron as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. There's a second, Joseph Epic?
May I borrow your seat, please?
Oh, sure, of course.
Good evening, I'm Joe Epic. Before you this evening is the request by Verizon to remove the existing cell tower and erect a replacement of greater height and capabilities. For purposes of full disclosure, I am a Verizon shareholder. However, I am against this proposal. I have had the opportunity to read the current proposal as well as the voluminous May 22nd proposal attached in reference to thereto. From those readings, my concerns are, A, the proposal, if approved, would allow the electromagnetic wave power output to be at least 3 times that of the current emitter. Yes, there are calculations attached that say in effect that if the emitter plate remains vertical or up to 5 degrees off the vertical, there should be, quote, my words, no worries for ground-positioned people. How are we guaranteed that the plate will not reposition itself through a clamp that loosens? What about a storm through which a tree or tree limb negatively impacts the emitter plate orientation? B, my property line is 236 feet from the new tower, the closest one. I have that privilege. And would certainly provide a horrifically powerful signal into my Verizon wireless phone. This being the case, why shouldn't I, my wife, or other people on my property be concerned with the effects of electromagnetic wave overdosing, especially since there will be 3 transmitters, not just 1? C, let's get to the visual impact. From the May 22nd report, it was noted that a red balloon test was performed. My house is adjacent to the residence noted as 10 Lynn Road, for which photograph S16 was taken. That photograph clearly shows the highly negative visual impact the 105-foot tower with its myriad emitter plates will have on our tranquil landscape, as well as my neighbors on Lynn Road. The whole Lynn Road is going to be impacted. No place else but Lynn Road. I can't look out my back door, my back window anymore, because I'm just going to see that thing. This detrimental visual impact, together with the real or even perceived harmful effects of electromagnetic radiation, will most certainly decrease the sale value of our house and our property. No problem, but no doubt about it. This is unacceptable and not allowed per the paragraph within the July 12, 2017 letter to Mr. Wiseman. Quote, the location and height of buildings, the location, nature and height of walls and fences, and the nature and extent of landscaping on the site shall be such that the use will not hinder or discourage the appropriate developments and use of adjacent land and buildings or impair the value thereof. Repeat, impair the value thereof. To date, I have not been contacted by Verizon or its attorney for purposes of addressing this impairment. D, and it's just a short comment. Shouldn't there be a beacon at the top of the tower? Does the tower height exceed the building code limits? Those are questions that I throw out to you. E, in summary, The proposed activity is not being planned or proposed through the goodness of Verizon's heart. Additional revenue and profit is driving Verizon, and greatly increased income is motivating the Poughkeepsie Day School regardless of its student and faculty impact. They should not be deriving such profits without due compensation to those whose property value they will have visually impacted or by real or perceived electromagnetic waves. I thank you.
Thank you.
I gave a copy to the secretary.
Oh, great. Thank you. Anyone else that didn't sign up would like to speak on this application? Hearing no one? Close it.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and second, we close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Peter, we'll start with you.
Did it last time.
You want to go?
A few items. One, is there anyone in the room who's qualified to address Mr. Epick's concerns about electromagnetic waves?
Mr. Finelli, in addition to being an attorney, I'm also an engineer, and I've been in this industry since the late 90s, which, when I say out loud, makes me feel very old. But with respect to the electromagnetic energy associated with such facilities, we did provide a report from an engineer that went through the history and the calculations and determined that based on the applicable standard, which is an FCC standard, the cumulative effects of AT&T and Verizon would be about 1% or a little less than 1% of the standard. So if the standard is 100%, what's going to happen is, it would be less than 1%.
My second item is, do we have something, whether through the submission or something on file that supports that this tower is FAA compliant due to its proximity to the county airport?
In the May submittal, there was a document relating to FCC approval and the height of the facility.
Okay, so we have something on file.
There's something in the file, yeah, and it's
There
in
will be a
that,
beacon on top also.
yeah, that same document identifies the need for a beacon.
Okay. And that stipulates that they're in compliance with the design feature and the height and so forth, that they're FAA compliant. Okay. Third item is with regard to the special use permit. The resolution was passed last night. I don't have a copy of the resolution in front of you. Normally, it says something to the effect, this resolution will go into effect upon filing with the Department of State. Are we within the permissible time period to go ahead and approve a special use permit based on the resolution that the town passed last night?
Yeah, the resolution approved last night, the last sentence says that said local law shall take effect immediately.
No, it's upon a filing with the
Yeah,
Secretary of
okay.
State. So there's always a lag time between the adoption of it's probably 5 days, 4 days, something like that, by the time it makes its way up to Albany. So there is that question. So the effective date of it, I don't know. I guess the prudent course would be to hold off until the next meeting.
That's my question, because normally it's predicated upon the filing with the Secretary of State.
Right.
So we've got to make sure it's filed before we can issue the special use
Right.
permit.
So, the thing to do, we are discussing holding a special meeting on August 3rd. Maybe that's something that we just simply put it over to.
I'm just saying,
That would
better
be the prudent
safe than sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
Legal,
That's all I have.
Okay. Carl?
yeah, I was going to say something similar since it was in the airport traffic area, but they are providing the beacon on the top of it. They said that last time. And I believe last time we discussed there's no conflicts during construction with the solar or the routing of the wires underground and et cetera.
I think we're
So
fine with
that's
that.
all
Right.
worked out with them.
It is.
I did have a question, is it going to be a generator or an on-site battery for backup?
This is deferred the entire application.
Verizon typically deploys both. They have batteries at the place of their equipment cabinets, and they also have a backup generator on the
Okay,
platform.
so there will be diesel fuel and all that to
Diesel,
deal with out
correct.
there.
Which would only run in an emergency.
Let's just, yeah, we'll do everything on the 3rd.
And I had the same EMF concerns that the neighbors had, I guess. They both had that concern, so thanks for explaining that. Last question is, I know a friend that's on like the Vassar Road, Jackson intersection area and gets a weak Verizon signal sometimes at his house. Is that something this tower would address, or is that further?
It
further
should. Do you know about approximately how far that is from the site? I just don't know offhand.
Yeah, it's a few miles, but
Yeah, one of the things
not
that,
more than 10. It's
yeah, one of the issues that Verizon is having in this area is, in addition to capacity, in addition to coverage, meaning they don't have signal in the area, they're experiencing capacity in their surrounding sites, meaning that the sites are at a point where they just can't handle the number of calls and data requests. So that might be an issue with another site where you would normally be fine, and then over time, you're not getting the same kind of signal strength. So this proposed facility would kind of relieve that capacity on the adjacent sites, as well as provide some coverage. So it should improve wireless service within the area significantly.
Okay, yeah, one of the neighbors made comment that it was increased transmitter strength or something. Is that-
Well,
how does
that's,
that-
yeah, that's related to the
Or is it just the
radio
height that's-
frequency energy. Yeah, the signal
That's what I was gonna say.
is directed out from the facility because that's where the users are. So you wouldn't, if you had the antenna mounted on a monopole, you wouldn't direct the signal to the ground because that
Right.
doesn't help anybody, right? So the signal would be directed out.
So the
towards it.
radiation pattern, I mean, opens up eventually, but not,
Right.
but anybody,
Right.
as close, when you're in close to it, you're getting less of that radiation than further away.
Exactly. It's an
potentially.
exponential difference as you move away from the facility.
All right, thanks.
Sure.
Ben, anything?
No, I have nothing.
Okay. I'm just going to make a comment. I'm going to move that at some point that we defer tonight's proceedings until, we're going to have a special meeting on August 3rd, so we'll do everything at that meeting. And
That's
that way,
fine.
That way, everything's been filed with the Secretary of State from New York State.
As it was mentioned, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Right, thank you.
What is your estimate of the useful life of this monopole? I know Verizon has merged with a lot of content
Right.
firms out there, and I'm sure that they want to monetize the data. So, and there's going to be a lot more traffic flowing out there. And from what I heard you say earlier, we're trying to cover what is a local traffic now. So you're going to come back in a year or so and say, oops, we need more?
Right now, there's only one other potential tower facility proposed within the town. I'm not sure the specifics of that area, but one of the other things that the RF engineers look at are use of existing facilities to help offset capacity, and use of what they call small cells, which are smaller, discrete facilities. Some are on existing utility poles. Sometimes they can use a rooftop site to help offset capacity. So, it depends on the size of the problem. But for this particular case, I would say that this should help the area for quite a few years, long-term.
And that will take into account even the new technology?
Yeah,
I know it's not
actually-
here yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly it changes, but yes, it should.
Yeah.
And I apologize if you brought this up in the last time you were here. So on a maintenance level, I know the gentleman mentioned, storms and anything that would affect the pole. Is there a frequent check of the pole in the area? How often does that happen?
So it's, Performance of the system is remotely monitored. So if something's wrong, somebody will know pretty quickly. And then about once a month, a technician will be out at the site just to make sure that, you don't have vegetation growing where it shouldn't be growing, and that, things are working properly and it's all in good shape. So these things they're monitored 24/7.
Okay. And then install, when or if it does happen, how, the surrounding area, how disturbing is that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Bringing the pole in to
Maybe-
that area, like
Can
when
you-
you bring it
Oh, so the construction of the
day
site.
of,
Yeah.
days of construction, yeah, how disturbing is that? I mean, his house runs up to the back of it, so.
I'm from a construction standpoint, construction vehicles will be coming in through the Poughkeepsie Day School property. It'll improve the access road. None of the vegetation outside of the lease area will be disturbed. I mean, from a noise, dust standpoint, I would think that the vegetation would block that from going towards the properties to the east. I mean, I know that they use best practices that they hire, they've had contractors working with them for decades now. They use the same contractors over and over. And they're very familiar with best practices and the proper way to build these facilities.
Okay. Thank you.
When they do the remote monitoring, does it also check the angle? You talked about the 5 degrees and the emission, the transmissions and all that. That's monitored remotely and checked
Absolutely, yeah.
frequently? Okay, thank you. Don, anything? No? Okay.
I move that the planning board defer further action on this application for the Crown Castle Verizon Communications Tower site plan, subject to filing at the town board special use permit amendments, and respond to the following comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies. Said responses to be reviewed by the planning board department as to the adequacy and completeness, inclusive of the following 1 through 4.
If I could actually make a recommendation, it would be better to actually put it over to a date certain. We've got special meeting. on it.
Date specific?
I expect the filing
For action
to take
till,
place by next week, so just make it August
No.
3rd.
Mr. Chairman, so the applicable law is, I just looked it up, it's Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 27, and there's 2 sections.
Your mic on.
The first.
Yeah, turn your mic on, Craig.
This is the one that.
Ben?
There you go.
So the applicable section of law is Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 27. And subsection 3 says, notwithstanding the effective date. Notwithstanding the effective date of the local ordinance, it shall not become effective before it is filed with the Secretary of State. And then subsection 4 says that it would, every local law is effective 20 days after its adoption. So we would have to have that meeting at least 20 days after today, according to subsection 4. Unless it's filed earlier than that.
Well, what I would recommend, since we have no other meeting scheduled in August, my recommendation to the board would be to reschedule it for August 3rd. If by that date, the local law has not been filed, it'll just be carried over to whatever the next meeting date, and it'll be in September.
I think that's pretty.
Yeah, the legal department's pretty good about getting it up to Albany.
so we could just leave the motion as is without.
I
without
would amend the motion to defer action to the August
August,
3rd
okay.
special meeting.
And we're deferring action on all these applications.
On everything.
That's on everything.
Yep, I'll amend that motion I made to defer action until August 3rd, 2017.
Okay, you got that, Eric? You good with that? Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second, call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you. In the meantime, we could do a little research to see if that's.
You can have it.
That's what I thought.
Got it covered.
That's what I thought.
I'm not shocked.
Hey, yeah. Okay. That's yours, isn't it? I think that's yours.
As long as you have.
You had written on one of them,
But I'm good.
right? Okay.
Thanks for bringing it up. Actually, it's the record.
All right, let me find my agenda here. Okay, public hearing number 2, Creek Road Apartments. Let's see. Creek Road Apartments, site plan hearing for proposed site plan rezoning by the town board from BN Business Neighborhood to RM Residence Multifamily District, and a site plan application to the planning board as amended for 31 apartments in one building of 3-story height, 8492 Creek Road, Zone BN Neighborhood Business District, 5.18 acres, non-listed action, JPJR Holdings LLC, the owner. On June 15th, we adjourned the public hearing to September 21st, 2017, pending the town board action on proposed rezoning. That date was incorrect. The date should be September 14th, so I move the planning board adjourn the public hearing to September 14th, 2017.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. And we did the same thing by mistake, we forgot to, moved up for River Point Residential and West Park Professional Buildings, site plan and aquatic resource permit hearing, and lot line revision regarding a proposed development planned amended to include a single 7-story building containing 85 age-restricted dwelling units, 31,534 square feet medical building, and 13,976 square foot retail pharmacy or medical service uses. 2055 South Road and 83 Old Post Road, zoned OR Office Research District with a Senior Housing Overlay District and SHOD designation, 7.14 acres. A secret negative declaration was adopted on March 14, 2014. WA Route 9 LLC owner. And for the same reasons as the previous, I move the planning board adjourn the site plan and aquatic resource permit public hearing to September 14th, subject to advertisement of the public hearing for a revised submittal.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Thank you, that was the bookkeeping. Housekeeping, application C1, Underhill Solar LLC, site plan review regarding a proposed 3,000 kilowatt solar photovoltaic array ground-mounted system, 130 and 122 Underhill Road, zoned R-4A residence, single-family 4-acre district, 71 acres. Type 1 action, Brian and Shelley Underhill owners. But before we do that, let me see, at this time, let me have a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Seconded, okay, call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Is there anyone on the audience that wish to comment on any other agenda item? I'll move we resume the rules.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, I'm Brian Stump with Cypress Creek Renewables. I'm here to talk about Underhill Solar. My team member, I'm a zoning manager for Cypress Creek Renewables. My team member, Ann Whaling, has, I believe, appeared here before. She regrets not being able to come because of time conflict. But we've been in conversation with Mr. Wilson, and we've been regularly providing comments. There's been local and state comments, and we've addressed many of those comments. Just to back up a little bit, Cypress Creek Renewables is an owner-operator of solar farms from across the U.S. We're in 15 states. We focus on community solar, which is usually a smaller solar farm of somewhere between 10 to 15 acres, but we usually can produce 2 megawatts, which is enough to power 300 to 500 homes. Now, for this project, it's to the east of Poughkeepsie. It's on 130 Underhill Road, and it's 63.7 acres. That will lead to just 20 acres of disturbance, but just 6 acres of actual solar array. So tonight, I just wanted to, we are going through the application process, the site plan approval. And as I said before, we've responded to many comments. I'm here tonight as a community liaison from the company to ask if you have any further questions or any other ways we can address comments. And also, having heard that the September 14th will be the next, since that will be the next meeting, we are requesting that there possibly be a public hearing at that point to go over the application.
We have to work that out with staff.
Okay. And also, I apologize, I was not aware of the festive T-shirts tonight, so
We may
apologies
just,
for not.
well, we may just have to defer action on this. Oh, we're going to do that. Okay. Okay. Eric, anything you want to add? I was going to go around starting with Don.
Yeah, there's the number of issues remaining. I think the principal issues are in the plan set. There's still inconsistencies in the information, a number of key issues relating to what the plans are showing as far as conditions existing and particularly proposed. I'll let engineer and wetland deal with their piece. I'll also mention the town board did amend regulations back in May, which are actually may end up being helpful to this project. But some of with regard to the setbacks and buffers that are required, it made it a little bit clearer for the public utilities, and the definition for public utilities was also clarified. So this project is clearly defined, meets the definition of a public utility for the purpose of the planning board's application. That said, there's some of the labeling on the plans is a little unclear as to how the proposed conditions relate to those new standards. So that can be cleaned up, I suspect, but there will need to be some corrections. And then I'll let the engineer and the wetland consultant, I think, have a few things to say as well.
Thank you.
Don?
Most of our site plan review comments are coming along pretty well, but the drainage comments and the SWIP comments and erosion control comments are still outstanding. Looks like probably maybe one more round of work on that, and from everything I can see, it looks like they can be handled, but they just aren't handled yet, so.
Okay, yeah, we can plan to continue. And there's a steep slope analysis, I believe, that you're still looking for, and that's pending. We weren't able to have that in the time of submission of the application, but we're hoping to get it there to you soon.
Okay.
Okay. As far as the habitat, endangered species, et cetera, wetlands, the site had been delineated, but there's a couple of corrections that need to be taken care of with the buffer area. I understand that the entire solar arrays are outside of the 100-foot buffer, but that site has a couple of issues. It's according to Hudsonia, which we use the Hudsonia Significant Habitats study quite frequently, it's within or proximate to the single largest contiguous habitat patch in the town of Poughkeepsie, Blandings Turtle Conservation Zones, and a number of other things. None of that was addressed in any of the comments. All we have is the DEC letter that says it's in proximity to Blandings turtles. There's been no studies. There's been no comprehensive studies regarding Blandings turtles, bog turtles. Another concern is Indiana bat. We're talking 20 acres of tree removal. You have to go through the Endangered Species Act, Fish and Wildlife Service consultation. And Michael Fishman, who did your wetland delineation, he even indicated that in the last portion of his in his conclusions that additional wildlife and habitat studies may be required, and they are required.
Okay, yeah, we received the comments from DEC about blanding turtles, and so we plan to follow up and do more research on that.
Okay, so all the species, not just the turtles. We need some more information because you're basically in an area between a number of primary habitats.
Yeah, he's out of room.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just jump in for a minute. What I'd suggest is, since the planning board's not meeting in August, in order to help get you to a public hearing, what I'd suggest is you have their comments in the packet that you got, the same as the board tonight. If you go through those and start working your way through them, and then schedule a meeting of, Ann and whomever else with us, we'll sit down with you in the offices downstairs and work through some of these so that hopefully we can make some progress on the next submittal.
So a work session in August, possibly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just with staff.
Great, thank you.
And keeping in mind that the September 14th meeting is early in the month, earlier than usual in the month, so we'll need to have a formal submittal by August 21st.
Okay.
So we should aim for that consultation sufficiently before then.
Before August 21st?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Carl, anything at this point?
Nothing more really. It is a lot of trees being cut down, and you gotta watch out for the wetland there. I think Carol covered my concerns there.
Thank you. Ben, anything?
No, I think it's too soon yet. Wait.
Good.
I'm fine at this point.
Thank you.
Brian?
I'm okay, thank you.
Good. Anybody? All right, then I'll move the planning board to determine I'm sorry, Peter. Yeah, that's good. I should just start with Peter. Go ahead, Peter, sorry.
Because you don't have a bright enough shirt on.
So, Peter moves that the planning board determine that the application is incomplete. Seeker review pending further elaboration on the proposed development and its potential effects.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. I move the planning board defer further action on the site plan application subject to the following, 1 through 8, and the comments from the town engineer and our environmental expert, Carol, that were made this evening.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We'll see you in September, hopefully.
Well, hopefully maybe in August too.
Well, you'll meet with staff in August.
Okay.
Yeah, the next planning board meeting will be September 14th.
Gotcha. Is there a dress code for that one?
No.
Okay.
Just have to bring donuts.
No problem. I'll have it in my car too, just so.
Nobody ever brings donuts. Okay. Plan review number 2, Planet Wings Edition, 661 Dutchess Turnpike.
Thing for that.
Planning board to declare lead agency intent and amended site plan review for a revised application for a new building addition of 1,500 square feet for restaurant use and renovation of the existing 28,985 square feet building for retail use, 661 Dutchess Turnpike, zoned BSC Business Shopping Center, 0.721 acres. Planet Wings of Poughkeepsie. Owner for this particular application, Mr. Powers will be recusing himself.
Good evening, Dennis Lynch with Day Engineering. As you'd mentioned, we were here to discuss the amended site plan for Planet Wings in Poughkeepsie. We were in front of the board early this year. We did receive a conditional approval on the plans without having the addition. Since then, the owner has wished to amend the plans to put a 1,500 square foot addition depicted in gray on the site plan. As some other site improvements would be, there's an existing road that goes around to a drive-through. That drive-through will be removed as part of the application, and this area will be reclaimed as a lawn and landscaped area.
Thank you. Eric?
Yeah, there's a number of issues remaining, some of which will require further consultation with the building department and possibly the town engineer with regard to the floodway. You have our comments to work through, so we're recommending, the applicant wanted to proceed with this, so we recommended that they submit to start the lead agency process. That way we can, see what we do next in September and have some time in between to work through those issues. So we're recommending lead agency circulation for the board to declare lead agency and then to defer. And among our conditions are I believe there's a condition to meet with the building and the planning department before the next submittal, which would need to be by August 21st.
Thank you. Don, anything?
I guess my only question is, Eric had mentioned you were talking about doing a floodplain study, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and this is an unnumbered 8 zone, or is it numbered?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know the intent would be, this addition would basically be a standalone building that would be flood-proofed through a number of having panelized waterproof panels and openings, and then providing a basically watertight shell around the building to meet the requirements of the floodway and the flood panel. So, and as part of that, we would be providing a hydraulic study of the impacts.
Okay, thank you.
Ben, start with you. Anything at this point?
No.
Okay.
Nothing at this point.
Peter?
Not really. There are some obvious engineering issues that are going to have to be straightened out, but we'll wait and see.
Carl?
I do want to, add to the, we talked about it last time, you don't have it shown on the site plan yet, a little sidewalk connection to the front there, and the county has commented on that as well. I mean, it looks like there's a way to S-turn it around, line it up with the hash marks for the handicap parking, and just a little S-turn. And if you go straight up, it's a little bit of a hill, but if you S-turn it over to kind of right where the entrance road is.
You're talking to this area here?
No,
yeah,
like right there. If you start like right at that intersection, and just do a little turn around the light pole, and connect and to tie it into the.
We can look at them.
To that hash mark there. That would just give you a pedestrian connection in from the Route 44 sidewalk. The other question I had was, how the fire damage, how is that affecting what you're doing with the demolition and that kind of stuff?
Basically, we're at a standstill right now. We're dealing with insurance, and moving forward, we don't know. We're anxious to start demoing and rebuilding the existing Planet Wings and get approvals for this new addition. So right now, we're basically, not doing much.
Okay, I didn't know how, because of that fire damage, how much of the old building you had to tear down
it's
versus.
smoke damage, water damage. Like as far as structural, it's fine.
It's fine, so you just
but
leave
it's
that, and then
more.
you're gonna add the.
It's just enough to put us out of business right now,
Yeah,
unfortunately. So hopefully this process can go quick, so we can reopen
back
alongside and make the property better with Verizon and us. It's
Yep.
It'll be a nicer center. So we're eager to break ground. So.
Right.
I'm just going to suggest that sooner rather than later, that you actually at least have a telephone conversation, if not a sit-down, with the building inspector that does the floodplain reviews.
Okay.
Because since this is in the floodway, there's a particularly stringent set of standards. And there's also there's a limitation on substantial improvements to the existing building as well, before triggering the new standards. So just to, keep your eyes open with what you're going into, there's a.
Sure, I've had a couple meetings with Bruce Flower, and who should, besides Bruce, who else should I meet with?
Bruce knows the regs pretty well, and he would bring in.
That's okay, because we had an
Tom
on-site
Wojcik.
meeting at one point, and then it turned into this, we had to, do a bigger addition, and so I can call Bruce tomorrow, tomorrow and start the process.
That was my concern too, with the floodway and the floodplain and the regulations, that you don't want to. I'd rather see you let's work up front and get it going, because you want to get your doors open, and we want to help you do that.
Right.
So
Okay.
That's.
I appreciate that. That's, we're all here to work together, hopefully. And,
Right, exactly.
I just want to streamline it and know what I need to do to get it done, and start selling wings again.
If it'll work, great, let's go for it. But if not, you already have a conditioned approval for a plan.
Sure.
And so we don't want to, I don't want to see that disappear too far into the past.
Okay. Well, I'll meet with Bruce and we'll move forward.
Okay.
You can bring you can bring wings with the donut guy.
Not a problem.
Okay. Anybody else? I think we're good.
So, I move that the planning board declare its intent to be the lead agency to coordinate environmental review of the proposed project as an unlisted action and authorize the planning department's circulation of a notice of said intent, a copy of the EAF, and a copy of the application to the identified involved agencies.
Second.
Moved and seconded. The planning board declare its intent to be the lead agency, et cetera. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0.
I move that the planning board defer further action on this application pending establishment of a lead agency and direct the applicant to respond to the comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies, including but not limited to the following, 1 through 11.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that the planning board defer action on this application pending the establishment of the lead agency and direct the applicant to respond to the comments, planning board and those received from town departments and agencies, including but not limited to the following 1 through 11. I call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have this back. Have that back now. Let's-
North Point Center, lead agency consent seeker and site plan review for a proposal in the town and city of Poughkeepsie. In the town, additional parking on a parcel with an existing restaurant, and in the city, site redevelopment for 3 new buildings and 3 stories, total of 12,000 square feet, office, commercial, and 14 apartments, 1 and 2 bedrooms, in addition to an existing 2-story office building. In the town, 120 Delafield Street, Zone BH Highway, Business Highway, and WD1 Waterfront District 1, 1.64 acres. In the city of Poughkeepsie, 112 Delafield Street, 110 Delafield Street, 54 Spruce Street, 52 Spruce Street, 48 Spruce Street, 46 Spruce Street, Zone C1 Neighborhood Commercial and R4 Medium Density Residential, 1.53 acres, a total of 3.17 acres. Unlisted action, North Point Center LLC owners.
I don't think I have anything else to say after all of that.
Hi, Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing well. So Kelly Leibold with KRC, representing the applicant, North Point Center. I know we're just doing lead agency circulation, but I had actually spoken to Eric earlier tonight and thought it would be best, just because of the complexity of the procedural issues relative to this project, to come and explain to you briefly the project. We're at 50,000 feet at this point. We'll get more details over to you. We really pushed to get this into the city to start lead agency circulation, mostly because the town usually doesn't have a meeting in August, so I wanted to try to just get the lead agency section of it started. But if you have, would you like just a few minutes and I'll go over the project with you?
Okay.
Okay, so as you had indicated, Mr. Chairman, the project is in the city and the town of Poughkeepsie, and I tried to provide the yellow line on here so you understand where that line is. Everyone here really knows this parcel as Cosimo's, the restaurant, which is right here, which is grayed out. There's another existing building that's in the city of Poughkeepsie. It's the 3-story, well, you see it as a 2-story office building, but it's really a 3-story office building that's located in the city. And the existing access is mostly located in the town of Poughkeepsie, but the line actually divides right through the entrance to the property. The property owners have been acquiring parcels in the area. It's somewhat of a degraded area as you go further down Delafield Street in the city of Poughkeepsie. And they actually had the opportunity to acquire one of the parcels that was immediately adjacent to them. And then it just kind of kept going and going and going, that some of the other neighbors wanted to sell and other neighbors wanted to sell. So it became a different type of project after they finally identified what projects that they were acquiring.
So instead of sprucing them up, they bought them.
Yes.
I think, good.
You got it.
There's a little humor
Spruce,
there.
Spruce Street.
Spruce Street, okay.
So originally, it was just going to be a little project in the old commercial building that's on the corner. But again, as things became more available to them, they really wanted to create, and I said this in my presentation that I gave to you, a live, work, play. So it's a combination of the restaurant, office use, and residential use. And the intention goes back to kind of pure planning issues and design criteria, which is to create a true center. And that's why we've left the one initial primary access point and not multiple access points. So we do understand that we need to communicate with the city fire department and just make sure that is copacetic with them and they understand that they can get to the other buildings. But we'd like to maintain one point of access just to create that center feeling. The site will be fenced in, and all of the residents for the 2 buildings on Delafield and Spruce will have entrances in the back. And the concept with those buildings, if you haven't had a chance to read my novel, is brownstones. So they wanted to go back and try to bring the city back in this area, and hopefully it would continue. But these are, brownstones that you see in the city, so the buildings are right up on the sidewalk. You've got a step down into a flat on the first floor, and then steps up to the units that are on the second floor. And so residents could come in from the front, from Delafield Street or Spruce Street, or they can come in from access into the back.
So they're not going to be dorms?
No, I think that they're truly trying to get a high-end, these are going to
Families?
be a higher-end market. Probably people who are commuting back and forth to the city, people, dual income type of, there'll be larger units.
Okay.
Lisco McCormick Van Voorhees has done the design, and they're really putting a lot of money into that facade to try to get that concept. They're very sensitive, as I am, to recognizing the fact that this is a single-family residential community, so it's more of a city of Poughkeepsie issue than you, but I just want to tell you that we're cognizant of that and tying these buildings together with those single-family residences. The third building up in the back is an office building, so it's a 3-story office building. It nearly mimics the North Point building that's there now. So if you were to drive in from the Cosmos parking lot, you would see 2 stories. There's a 3rd story that's accessible from the parking lot in the back, and that's identical to this building. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's actually a 3rd floor down underneath that's accessible from the elevator, and this will create really direct access to that building. We have done some preliminary geotech, so we've done some work out there as far as placement of this building. Dan Laux is on board as part of the team as well. Again, I had indicated that most of the project is in the city of Poughkeepsie, so it involves the town, the city, and also DOT. I'm sure that you saw that we're trying to work with DOT to get some on-street parking. The Delafield Street area is very, very wide. Right now, there's a huge green landscaped area there that we want to try to work with DOT. We have had preliminary discussions with Chuck Walter, and we'll proceed with those, and obviously you would be very involved in that review. I really wanted to talk to you more about process tonight than the project, and so we are moving forward with doing more detailed design that you will have. I just was telling Eric today that I recently completed a pretty complicated project that was in the village and town of Fishkill. And it was complicated just because of the multiple boards that you're involved with. And so what I'd like to do is continue to involve the town and the city on the exact same documents that we submit. So assuming that the city ends up being the lead agency in completing the seeker review, every time we submit to the city, I'd like to courtesy copy the town, just so you're involved. So you're going to end up getting a lot more information than you really need, because at the end of the day, the only section that's in the town is these parking spaces that are on the plan. So it's really a pretty de minimis review, but we think that it's important to keep you involved. So like the other project, if that's okay with you, we'll continue to do that. So again, you're going to end up getting a lot more information than you probably need. We'll likely do 11 by 17s just so that we minimize the production of paper and keep you involved in that process if that works for you. We'll just send you everything that we send to the city. So again, you're going to get more, but sometimes more is better, and at least you're involved with the
As long as they're readable.
Excuse me?
As long as they're readable.
Yeah, we can figure out what's appropriate and whether or not you need full size for the submissions. But I'm talking about documents that they may review for the seeker review. But again, just want to try to keep you involved. It worked down there. I think it'll work here. Water and sewer are mostly in the city. I know the town reads the water just for the sewer bill. But we'll work with Morris Associates and just make sure that they're on the same page with the review of the engineering. The one thing that we'll have to figure out is the stormwater review and the MS4, whether or not the town, and this is further down the line, would consent to the city being the MS4 coordinator, but we can work on that as we proceed forward. So that's the project.
What kind of businesses are in the existing office building?
In this one, there is an engineering firm, and there is some firm that's affiliated with Marist College and their special education training that they have.
Okay.
And this is nearly full. The lower level isn't occupied at the moment.
It's a nice concept. I like it.
It is, we'll get into this as far as the parking, but, it's really a great shared concept for parking. We'll talk about that later as we move forward and give you, an analysis of shared parking concepts. But it makes sense because when the people leave, those spaces can be occupied by the office users, and then at night, the people come back and then the restaurant is occupied.
Thank you,
All
Kelly.
right, so if anyone has any questions, that's really the project. We're hoping to just commence the seeker review, assuming it's with the city, and we were hoping tonight that we could just have that review with you and then answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Everything you want to add, Eric?
No, just because it is procedurally a little unusual. I had prepared this, and then Kelly called me, and what she's suggesting matches exactly what you're suggesting. So we're at first to consent to the lead agency, and then secondly, we have a resolution to, sorry?
We're not challenging the leaders?
Oh, well, that was last week.
That's how he called me today, was to tell me that he was challenging.
Well, wait a minute, I'm thinking maybe we should challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, those buildings.
I should warn you that I'm on like 36 hours of being awake on major jet lag, so just not my best nights.
Oh, that case.
Which would you rather, I don't think we want to say that. Okay. Any comments from the board? We'll make it a discussion at this point. Anything out at this point? No.
I guess the city will handle any kind of light spillage to the neighbors that are remaining there and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to do a photometric plan, and again, everything we send to them, we'll send
Carl's
to you.
concerned the bocce court's going away, but that's not.
Yeah, but as long as the bocce court stays, I
The
think.
bocce court's staying, yeah.
Looks like that one tree that's out in the green area would go away. There's a light pole there too.
I
don't
don't
know.
want to remove it. You picked up on that. So I drove by it the other day and actually
That's a nice
cued
tree.
in that it's got to stay. I think what we did is we just generically showed how many parking spaces we could achieve there, but I really don't have a desire to get rid of that
I guess the
tree.
county had some concerns about backing out onto Delafield
They
Street
will.
versus parallel parking. So
Yeah.
but you're trying to
Yep.
fit in more spaces, so you'll have to work through that.
That's what we're trying to do. We looked at angled and then we looked at the straight pull-in. So we'll work with DOT. Phil Greeley's on the team.
Okay.
So he's been given that exercise to work with DOT on that effort.
But it looked like for the number of units you had here, you had about 45 parking spaces in that apartment area, so it looked like sufficient to cover some of the
There's a
commercial as well.
lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
But I know parking gets tight at the restaurant
It
on
is.
occasion, so.
It absolutely is. Yeah, and we want to make sure that we have enough, not necessarily on paper, but just enough in, the real use of the buildings.
Yeah, the food's good, so
Yes, thank you.
that's all I got.
To the entrance. This was built in 37. You should see how much concrete's in
One.
Anybody else?
I think you got it pretty well covered.
Thank you.
Peter?
It must have been a DPW project or something. They had a huge.
Nothing.
I'm good, sorry.
Anything?
Bueller and Bueller.
Yeah, anyone?
I move that the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board consent to the City of Poughkeepsie Planning Board as lead agency to coordinate the environmental review of proposed action.
Second.
We moved and seconded that the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board consent to the City of Poughkeepsie Planning Board as lead agency to coordinate the environmental review of the proposed action. I call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I think we should do it myself. I'm going to oppose that one.
Don't do that to me.
Motion carries 5-1.
You like your tires.
Thank you.
I move that the planning board direct the planning department to prepare secret review documents inclusive of comments and discussion at the July 20th, 2017 Town Planning Board meeting. Request that the City of Poughkeepsie Planning Board consider said secret comments in its review of the proposed action. And C, request that subsequent project information, agency correspondence, and written comments received by the City Planning Board be provided to the Town Planning Board as an involved agency for review and comment.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
I move that the planning board defer further action on this town site plan application pending complete application information and plans for seeker and site plan review, subject to the following, 1 through 12.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Planning board defer action on the town site plan application, et cetera. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
That's good. It's gonna be a nice project.
Thank you.
Plan review, and number 4, Modi, 23 Davis Avenue, new ophthalmology building. Discussion regarding a proposed two-story medical office building of 11,200 gross square feet on a site with an existing one-story medical building of 12,500 GSF, 23 Davis Avenue, zoned ATC, Arlington Town Center, 1.64 acres. Idom Equities, Inc., owner. Hello.
Good evening. Hi. You ready?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Chuck Liscombe with Liscombe McCormick Van Voris, and Joe Berger, Berger Engineering, the architect and civil engineer respectively, working with Dr. Modi, who is also here this evening. I guess the main reason we're here is for discussion to get the process started. We've taken a preliminary look at Dr. Modi's needs and requirements. We can't quite meet him as much as he would like, but he needs a little bit more area, but we're trying to reduce the size of the building as much as possible. We have just a recently completed survey of the site, and if you like, I can kind of give you an overview of what he's looking to do.
Sure. That would be great.
If you're familiar with the site, this is...
You gotta turn that on.
If you're familiar with the site, this is the existing medical office building in Dr. Modi's office. Duchess Ambulatory Surgery occupies this half of the building, and Dr. Modi's practice pretty much this half. There's a real need for him to expand. He took a real close look at trying to purchase this building on the corner and join and move into it. There's just simply not enough usable space there. He also utilizes Duchess Ambulatory for eye surgeries, and some of his people do that as well. So the logical direction for him was to construct a building on the existing site to take care of his ophthalmology practice. Most of the practice will be on the first floor, and the second floor would be offices, administrative, and a couple of specialty type of procedure rooms. What we're trying to do is site the building. We had really a couple of choices. We looked at possibly closer to the building. That was too disruptive. This on the eastern end of the site is currently vacant. It allows us to keep pretty much most of the existing paving and parking circulation intact. We expect as we go along that we'll be modifying that in order to make it a little bit more efficient and hopefully pick up a few more parking spaces. Then we were confronted with the issue of how to site the building on the property. The building itself, I believe, lends itself to being towards the rear of the property. I've indicated here, this is an adjacent residential apartment building. Between this property and this property, there's a driveway going back up here, and the residents park in the back. By pushing the building towards the rear, it allows us to continue this axis of parking and pick up some additional spaces on the Davis Avenue side. I really wanted the new building to be to the back of the street line so that the rest of the balance of the more residential-looking buildings on the street, and most of them are apartments in this row, that they would be closer to the street so that the building would be behind. It also allows us to maintain some landscape buffer along the street and some of the existing trees to remain where they are. In order to do that, we would be looking at a 10-foot variance for the rear yard. Rear yard requirement is 20 feet. If we push the other 10 feet and don't look for the variance, it's going to impact the parking towards the street, and the result would be either eliminate parking or push the parking spaces closer to the sidewalk. Really looking to prevent that to allow for a buffer along the street. We would include a pedestrian access, a sidewalk coming up from Davis Avenue. Anticipate the entry would be somewhere in this area, perhaps a pedestrian access from this side for handicap parking. I guess the main thing that we're looking to do is get some feedback from the board. We are putting in an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals tomorrow to get on the August agenda, just to start the process and also have them take a look at it. We understand the process includes a recommendation or denial and recommendation to the ZBA. Also knowing that you're not meeting next month, I realize you can't do that, but we would certainly appreciate maybe a survey of the board if they think that the effort to go forward for a variance is something that is a direction that you would approve of. If we cite the building, we have a zero lot line on the side and the front. So, but I don't think the building is really appropriately sited right along the front of the street. And that's what we'd have to do in order to get the parking in the back. With the building to the rear of the site, the rear backs up on the Days Inn Motel. And there's probably about a 30-foot, 40-foot buffer between the property line and the back of the motel, which really doesn't have any windows. There's some high bathroom windows that look into the rear yard, and there's quite a few trees as a buffer. So it seemed to us that that would not be an onerous thing to do, to split the difference, still maintain a 10-foot setback rather than the 20-foot, which will allow from maintenance and getting off of the property line. Essentially, that's what we're looking to do, is to begin the process, take your questions. Okay. Joe started working with various departments and getting his work done. And hopefully in September, when you're back, we'd have a more complete idea. We would have met with the ZBA and gotten their feedback. Obviously, no action. So.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Eric, anything you want to say we're open for discussion?
We gave you our thoughts for discussion. We just laid out some of the background.
Don, anything that comes to mind? No. Peter?
Not really. I mean, there's some questions about the setbacks and parking, but I'm sure they'll be addressed at a later date.
I guess that's my biggest concern is the parking, enough parking spaces with the new this much more square footage coming in. Because I think our town requirement is something like 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet for commercial.
Well, in the Arlington Town Center, it's 1 per 500.
Okay, it's an 18.
And because we know there's no parking in Arlington, I guess is the problem, which is why they did that. I think there's 54 spaces required.
So it's 2 per 1,000.
And we far exceed the required amount, that's true. I know Dr. Modi's looking at other ideas. There is a market rate parking available in the area, nearby, across the street, various places for rental and for employees' use, and so maybe cut down on some of that way. I mean, he certainly wants to accommodate his patients, and so that we're looking at options to. Right. That's one reason we want this variance, in order to, salvage those parking spaces.
Just so we're clear, as far as the variance, you can submit, but the ZBA won't be taking action on it until the planning board has done a workup on site plan.
No, I understand that. But Sue indicated that it can't hurt to just show them what we're doing to get some feedback, which is kind of what we're doing here.
It may be a little premature. Let's talk.
Okay.
Also, just to caution you, unless I'm mistaken, in the Arlington Town Center, if you make arrangements for parking off-site, there has to be either a cross easement or some long-term arrangement that will be consistent with the useful life of the building. So I just think you should keep that in mind. if you're gonna formulate a proposal for off-site parking, it's gotta be an established long-term relationship.
We're not light on parking.
I'm
We
just-
have like
just like, you know,
30% more than is required.
You brought it up.
For both
And so-
buildings?
We would do.
For both buildings?
Yes.
Always seems tight there.
Well.
But if
That's
you
the
can, if
zone.
you have something to arrange for employees to be off-site, that certainly helps the situation.
True, but as
But
Peter
as
said, you
Pete
need a
said,
long-term
need it.
commitment, something that, if it went away, 6 months later, then we're back to where they're gonna park.
Well, let me ask the question. I mean, if the applicant far exceeds the requirement, what requires them to get long-term deeded?
I think we,
parking?
don't we have some?
Yes, I wanna-
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you do. The planning board has discretion on how
Okay.
much parking
I'm
is
asking the
required.
question. I don't
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what we're planning to, is the
Yeah,
zoning.
The board, the board has plenty of discretion in terms of the amount of parking. And it's fine at some level to look to ITE, ULI rates. But the fact is, the parking lot is full during, typical hours. I mean, just anybody driving by, it's pretty obvious. And there are a lot of people who are also parking on the street. Now, I understand that the doctor has leased spaces for staff on the other side of Fowler, and that's fine, but, and I don't know if the cause is just, overbooking of patients or what, but I can tell you that my own personal observations, that there is virtually no parking at all during regular business hours, to the extent that people are having to park on the street. So what we'll do is we will sit and work our way through the parameters of an empirical analysis that would account for the patients that are also parking on the street. I don't think that it's correct in this case to simply go by, whatever the parking rates are, on, let's say, off of ITE. But we'll figure it out.
Okay. Do you, can I ask, do you think that I should, you mentioned the zoning application, should I hold off on that?
I would hold off on it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What we want to be able to do is to frame it properly. There may be some changes to the site plan that may affect that application that you would have to, change later on. But let's work on the site plan first and, when we've got it to a point that we're all
Right,
sort of
yeah.
in agreement. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it'd be more efficient that way.
Yeah, whatever will get us to the point whether we know we have a project or not.
Right.
That's really what, we're here for discussion.
Right.
Talk about what's happening so that, because we really can't go any further until we kind of get that one particular item hashed out. I agree.
Sounds like we should set up a staff meeting on this.
That would be my
At the earliest
recommendation, yeah.
possibility,
Yes.
start working things out.
Absolutely.
Prior, instead of making it the 21st submission, we should have a staff meeting so we can fix that for the 21st submission.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, that's
I
what
know,
we'll do.
You're just looking for direct feedback tonight,
Yes, exactly. We're getting it.
I mean,
Thank you.
At this point, I wouldn't give a positive recommendation to my personal thing. But you don't have to say how you feel one or the other, but that's what I'm asked for that. I'm not crazy about the 2 stories next to the housing in the corner there. It's just, I think it's just kind of overloading the site. So I'm from Missouri, you got to show me.
I mean, one of the big concerns of the neighbors with your last proposal was, removing some of the nice old trees along there, but I don't think this is addressing that in the front there, right, along Davis Avenue.
I don't think we're touching those trees.
So I think this time,
No, we're trying not to. I just made, answer that.
No, it's not on.
This building right here it's a apartment building.
Right.
And there's a driveway here, and this is just a big parking lot in the back. This is daytime. They're gone in the weekends, gone in the evening, late afternoon. So I think that the conflict with that neighbor is probably pretty minimal.
Okay, you have to be, close, you have to worry about light spillage and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Whatever, to look at.
Well, they're not open at night. Even in the winter, they're going by 6, they're gone.
Okay, question. So will Dr. Modi move out of where he is into the new
Correct.
two-story? So then will Dutchess Ambulatory expand there?
Perhaps partially, yes.
So that's gonna be a
what
need
they're
for
at-
more
Where they
people
are
and
is
more
they're, I'm sorry. Dutchess Ambulatory needs support space. That's what they need. It's not necessarily they're going to increase their load. They need about half of what's left over of his space he's vacating to do support space for their operations in there. That's what's going to happen. So it's not going to be a big increase in load.
They just need working area, more working space.
Also, the existing building has an entrance and sidewalk off Davis.
Yep.
So if Dutchess Ambulatory took some of they're moving their records and back office temporarily off-site because they have nowhere to go. So this would free up some of their operational activities. And then the other half of that 5,000, about 2,500, has a sidewalk that goes out to Davis. That could be rented to anybody and probably on a lower public participation level, but could be any kind of an office, not necessarily medical, could be any kind of office. So that's the general plan if this moves ahead.
Ryan, anything?
No, I'm good for now. Thank you, though.
I mean, it's nice to know that the business is expanding and they have the need and all that. We just gotta make sure we do it right and everybody's satisfied.
I think the other part is, things change. Ophthalmology there's new ways of doing things, new equipment that comes in, and rather than go out of business for 3 or 4 months, that's why he had to reject buying corner building and moving in there. Not enough space, and it was going to disrupt his existing business. So the concept being of, if you can move it over and free this up, it doesn't disrupt the business for months at a time doing that construction work.
Chuck, have you looked at the potential for purchasing the vacant land behind that proposed building with the hotel? There's
Days
some
Inn's
space back
property?
there.
You mean subdividing some of that?
Yeah, maybe acquiring a portion of that property and annexing it to this one to create more space for the building and/or for parking?
We've always approached them, I suppose, but I don't.
I mean, the rear yard of the.
Rear yard of the motel?
Yeah, the south side, yeah.
Yeah, immediately, I guess it'd be immediately north of the new building on that.
It's right adjacent to the red area on your
Yeah,
map.
so the backyard of the Days Inn, yeah.
We could certainly look into that.
You might give a little more space for parking.
Okay, just
Setbacks.
right on your map there, see the red?
it's pretty small.
No, just saying, you're just trying to define what Eric was talking about.
So this is the property line.
Yeah.
Right, this is the building, new
Yeah,
building.
yeah.
This is about a 30, 40-foot buffer there.
Yeah.
Their rear yard would be 20 feet
Yeah.
without a variance. So we could, this is maybe.
Purchase some.
20 feet, which is really, I'll look to see if it works.
Yeah, that's always, right, exactly.
We could,
That's not a bad idea.
Practical, then it functions, we could look at it, but.
Make it a little less tight perhaps, but.
It's not a bad idea.
Has it been discussed with them?
We didn't discuss it because we felt that there wasn't anything we gave.
I don't believe there really is.
Well, take a look at it, see what you think.
It's always good to look at, and we'll report back.
I suppose the other possibility is, you were talking about the corner building, but given the constraints of the site for parking and a building both, the other possibility would be looking at the purchase of the adjacent apartment building, which is so close to the property line. I don't
Well,
know
we
if it's
did that.
available.
Yeah, no, he did that, but good or not, the owner of the building, who doesn't live there, put quite a bit of money into it to convert it to apartments, and they're nice, which raised the price beyond what you could use for parking. I mean, it's got more value. To knock it down wouldn't make sense. So he did look at, unfortunate timing, just put a lot of money into that building, apparently.
Just see what you can do to explore those other possibilities, that'd be great.
But we'll look at the Days Inn.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? No, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Joe Willie's Restaurant outside patio, discussion regarding a proposed outdoor dining area for a restaurant tenant in a commercial plaza, 1817 South Road, Zone BH Highway Business District, 2.5 acres. Sorbaro Company owner. Hi.
Hi, I'm Joe White and owner of Joe Willie's.
I know
And
that. We all recognize you from your television fame.
Thank you. Yeah, that's wonderful. You don't know how much we get that. We'll be at the store and it's the guys from television, you know. So they built this patio and it's very similar to what I had at the old spot. It's fenced in. I guess they never went through the proper channels to get it approved. So that's why I'm here. The people before me built it. It's existing. It's surrounded by fence. Right outside the fence is a walkway, and outside the walkway is the parking lot. So I'm just looking to give my patrons an option to sit outside.
I think we just wanted to just get it on the record that we had a discussion and stuff.
Yeah.
Right, Eric, that's what we had talked about.
Yeah, the intent, I'll just jump in. We met a couple of times, and I did discuss this with a couple of members. Ordinarily, this might be amenable to an administrative approval, but the staff has the option to consider small applications like this administratively, but also can kind of kick it to the planning board. And when I ran it by some planning board members, there was concern specifically about I don't think anybody had a problem with the concept of the outdoor dining. The concerns that I heard were, one, with proximity to the vehicles and the lack of distance and separation with vehicles entering from Route 9, and some kind of vehicle protection mechanism for the outdoor patio. And the outdoor dining standards call for some kind of separation as well. They're for the standards in outdoor dining. Secondly, and then the other concern I heard was a much lesser one about the surface of the area. So I think those are really the two topics for concern with the planning board. And if you can work something out agreeable to them, we can, if the planning board's inclined, they can then, kind of give it back to staff rather than requiring a formal the time and expense of a formal application. We can then use whatever guidance comes from the planning board.
Okay. I would like to say something about the surface. I had heard that you want cement down or something like that, because for food to drop or something, but it is easier to pick it up. There's pea stone there that I just put down. And, if people drop food, it's easier to pick it up with the shovel and throw it in the garbage. And there's no hose in front. So as far as that goes, I wouldn't be against putting a different surface in the future. But I think the pea stone is fine, and it looks nice, too.
Carl, you were there, you thought it was pretty good, right?
Yeah, from a discussion, I went down and took a look at it, and I was worried the gravel was too big or something, that the chairs would be unsteady or whatever, but I tried it all out.
It's pretty solid.
And it seemed to be fine. It's a very small pea gravel. And in fact, I think, we had talked about something, but I think, I'm not sure what the standards are for the separation, but from my standpoint, there's the post and rail fence and quite a wide sidewalk, and then the vehicles all have wheel stops currently there.
I think it's...
So I don't know that we need anything additional
I will say
myself.
this, my last spot, it was just the stockade fence. That's what it was approved for.
So-
And the cars did park right in front of the stockade fence.
So
I don't have
between the wheel stops and
Yeah, I think it's all right.
sidewalk, I think
You know
it's,
what? If
myself,
anybody
I think
doesn't
it's.
have any objection, I think we
but-
just give it to staff. I think we're pretty satisfied.
Okay. All right. You're okay with it, just with it, given the separation with it as it is?
Yeah, I think.
Without adding a vehicle separation?
No, that's the direction we're looking for.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, thank you very much.
We had one other question. Wasn't the one about the food?
Something
and
about
the-
fish?
Oh, the food dropping.
I can answer any
guess you
question on
answered-
fish.
The food dropping.
Food droppings, is there any concern of the,
How are you gonna pick it up with pizza?
With the shovel.
Shovel.
With the shovel. If somebody drops something, I'll pick it up with the shovel and I'll put it in the garbage bin. I really don't think, I think it would be more difficult to pick it up on cement. Yeah, because I would need a hose. and there's no holes, there's holes in the back of the building, but there's no holes in the front. So if somebody were to spill something on the
If it's not an
pavement,
issue with the Board of Health or anything like that,
it's not at all.
Then that's
It's more, look, I close that door every night, and if I see something there, I'm gonna pick it up.
Yeah, so-
I don't want anything in the front of the restaurant.
I mean, I guess as long as you're policing it, so we
I'm
don't,
gonna be there every
attract
night.
the rodents and
I will.
whatnot.
Yes.
Good.
So it looks good.
Work with Eric, you get it.
I move that the planning board delegate site plan review to staff.
There you go. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. You're good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What would the next step be?
Talk with Eric.
Up there.
You want us to ask you about fish? What kind of questions do you want to?
I can answer any question.
Thanks for moving to the town. There you go. Thanks for moving.
Right, yeah, exactly. Thanks for moving to the town of Poughkeepsie. Good point. What was the name of that show he was on?
Restaurant Impossible.
Restaurant Impossible.
Restaurant Impossible. Okay. Okay, Stratford Farms time extension of a final major subdivision approval and/or site plan approval for 26 individual townhouse lots, a common area lot, and site improvements on a 6.832 acre parent lot within a previously approved 185 lot subdivision, Stratford Drive, Zone R-4A residence, single family, 4 acre, 6.832 acres, secret negative declaration on file, ABD Stratford LLC owner. Okay, I move that the planning board grant 2 90-day time extensions of a site plan approval and a final major subdivision approval from August 6, 2017 forward to February 2nd, 2018.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, Sheridan lot line revision, time extension of an approved lot line revision for a proposed conveyance of 1.28 acres to a residential parcel from a vacant parcel in common ownership, 8 Kingwood Park and Kingwood Park. Zoned R20 residence, single family, 20,000 square feet district, 1.18 acres and 3.3 acres. Negative declaration and conditional lot revision approval granted April 20th, 2017, James D. Sheridan, owner. I move that the planning board grant a time extension of conditional lot line revision approval for 90 days from September 18th, 2017 forward to December 17th, 2017.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Do you have something for TLP?
Yes.
Mention that.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
in your addendums.
Time extension 9, I guess. Time extension of a for TLP McKinley lot line revision, time extension of a conditional lot line approval for a plat to realign property lines of 6 parcels, one of them located in the city of Poughkeepsie to result in 3 parcels in the town and 2 parcels located in both the town and city. 30, 32, 34, 36, 40, and 42 McKinley Lanes in the town, McKinley Lane rear in the city. Zone BN Neighborhood Business District in the town and Zone I1 Light Industrial in the city. A total of 2.58 acres, secret negative declaration and conditional lot line revision approval adopted on July 21st, 2016. TLP Associates LLC owner. I move the planning board grant a 90-day time extension of conditional lot line revision approval from August 15th, 2017 forward to November 13th, 2017.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Anything else before the board? Is
Terminate the meeting.
that a motion?
Yes.
We have a motion to terminate the meeting, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0, the meeting is hereby terminated.
Terminated.
Wow, we did pretty good.